Hello, and welcome to TSTV DVD, a show in which I, Sadie, and my friend Lily go to the Fantasia International Film Festival.
Yeah, every week, baby. No, this
Yeah.
is this is a first for us. Fantasia Festival is a festival that happens in our beautiful home city of Montreal every year. It's like, I would say it's a moderately big deal for like genre film people. And we asked for press passes, and I kind of can't believe they said yes, but we just got into every movie we wanted for absolutely free. How wonderful.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, that's the podcaster's delight.
So this episode, it's going to be a little different from what we've done in the past. We're just going to blaze through like everything we saw there. I think it's between the two of us like 8 movies maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. Pretty quickly compared to our usual, 3 hours for a single episode of television. This one is on the public global feed because we want to give these movies a little bit of promo, and also we want to be invited back next year.
Yeah, we're really good press people.
We're so journalist.
We said a little bit about Fantasia, but something I learned actually at one point. Okay, one thing about Fantasia, people are meowing.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. So before every screening, there's a little thing that plays that says like, please don't talk or have your phone on or meow, and then everyone meows. It's adorable.
So okay, I was looking up an article about like why this is a thing, and apparently it was in like 2016 or something. They were playing Simon the Cat, and the projector just like stopped working for like a minute in the middle of the movie, and then everyone started meowing. And then for a while they had just had a like Rocky Horror style like audience call out thing where people would just meow to the movies. And then they had to stop saying don't meow in the movies, but I guess now everyone meows before the movies.
Yeah, so it's like a very, I don't know, I met people at this festival who'd been going since the first or second edition, like 30 years ago. It has a really devoted and I think like very sweet, sort of wholesome community around it.
And to jump in, the cool thing that I learned when I was looking up that article about why they meow is the origin of the first Fantasia was actually in the 90s, because like the Hong Kong new wave like movies were huge, but they weren't getting aired in Montreal outside of like Chinatown without subtitles or anything. And so they launched Fan to Asia in 1996. Yeah, that was basically just like airing like Hong Kong movies and a bunch of like movies from Asia that had not gotten released in Montreal, and it like blew up and then has over time turned into a kind of general international and genre film festival.
That is so freaking cool. Yeah, there's still a very strong presence of like East Asian movies. I would say especially South Korea and Japan have like really strong showings every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like you got horror movies, sort of psychedelic and surreal movies. What like genre is so broad. I don't know if I agree with like just the idea of there being like quote unquote genre and non-genre movies.
Yeah.
For
totally.
literature, I get it, but I feel like every movie is pretty genre-y. But it's just generally like if you like artsy or weird or shocking or it's like it's the creative little edgelords festival.
Yeah. And I think it's like I think one of the other big pillars is that they do, and I guess it's probably pretty common for film festivals, but it feels like Fantasia has a special emphasis on having quite a number of shorts blocks of like just international, definitely some East Asian specific, an anime one that you saw.
Yes.
General animated stuff. They have like many short film blocks that I remember growing up, I would always go see a short film block at Fantasia, and it was always really fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I guess, okay. So, as you know, if you're listening on the public feed, this is theoretically a TSTV DVD episode, which is our bonus series, but we wanted to give it away. However, this podcast, is losing money, and we love making it so much, and we would love to be able to make it a little more easily. So if ever you want to get all of our other like million bonus episodes, there are so many at this point, in which we discuss classic movies, David Lynch movies, just like newer, weirder movies that we like, head over to tstv.show. Throw us $3
Yeah.
American Beautiful dollars. And you can get so much more like this.
Lily, you're so good at remembering to do promo. Yeah, you should do that. We have talked about, let's see, we did an episode on Red Rooms, which premiered at Fantasia 2 years ago now, question mark?
Yep.
And what else have we? Yeah, we've done some David Lynch movies. We've done cool movies by transgender women. We did like some Joni Peppers, which is honestly still one of my favorite movies of all time. And more to come. If you are either listening to this just because you like Twin Peaks, or if you stumbled onto this as a Fantasia head, you should give us. Okay, honestly, especially if you stumbled onto this as a Fantasia head, you should give us $3 because I think you'll like all the movies that we talk about on there. Honestly, Joni Peppers would. I feel like Joni Peppers would kill at Fantasia, to be honest.
Oh my God, definitely. Yeah, I would also love to have her on as a guest at some point. I wonder if we could make that happen.
Hell yeah.
I want to catch up with you, but first, maybe let's just like really quick tease at the movies we're gonna be discussing. Do you have a list?
I do. We are gonna talk about The Serpent Skin, by Alice Mamiko. Mamiko. I don't know how it's pronounced, but
transgender horror movie.
Sorry. Yeah, transgender horror movie. She has made like 5. I've heard really good things about T blockers of hers, but I have not seen it. This is my first one of hers that I've seen. It is about kind of horror, but more in the like Buffy or like 90s. Certainly very calling back to the kind of 90s horror in quotation marks in a campy, romancy way. Transgender woman leaves her shitty small town, gets in some romance, and then, oh my God, she has witch powers, but what if there's a demon? That would be fucked up. We're going to talk about The Wailing. Lily, give me the elevator pitch on The Wailing.
Yeah, The Wailing is about sort of generations of women in the same family, in the same circles, who are being tormented by some sort of unseen screaming entity. I wanted to see this one because, you know, specters haunting women is like very Twin Peaks, and women's pain is filmically interesting to me. It's a co-production between Argentina and Spain. I think it's the first Argentine movie I've ever seen, and there's a lot I like about it. Next up is one that I have not seen that I tried to see yesterday, but the screener link expired.
Yeah, we got DRM'd. It is Fuck Toys by Annapurna Saram, which is a, like, I would describe it as like the Barbie movie if it said fuck in some ways, like kind think in a good way though. I think of the Barbie movie aesthetically, which frankly was my favorite parts of the Barbie movie was just the how much fun they were having in the set and costume design, and this kind of like highly artificialized world. And it is about this sex worker in a the I was going to say the fictional, but Trash Town, USA, who has a curse either put on her or detected by Big Freedia, the like bounce. Big Freedia plays the fortune teller who yeah, no, it's really
That's
good.
So strange.
And that she needs $1,000 to get rid of her curse, and is going on a kind of fool's journey quest around Trash Town, USA to try to fuck, dance, and scheme her way into $1,000 to break her curse, along with her little butch non-binary friend.
That's cute.
Very, very fun. Very, very fun. We are also going to talk about I Live Here Now. Tell me about I Live Here Now.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see that one.
I Live Here Now is the directorial debut from Julie Pacino, photographer and daughter of Alfred Pacino. It is about a woman who needs an abortion, but she's like being sort of stalked by her ex and her ex's mom. So she hides out in a hotel to like take the abortion pill. And then the hotel is sort of like the inside of her brain or her psyche or her life or something like that. And horror stuff happens. And the main villain is SHERYL LEE, aka Laura freaking Palmer.
Yeah, that is certainly a substantial part of why it was on our list.
Yes, almost the entire reason. But I'm glad I saw it. What else we got?
We got a Grand Mockery, which is actually the only one that we both went to see together in person.
Yeah, it's true. This is an Australian lo-fi but very ambitious sort of psychological, I don't even know what to call it other than psychological, like to torture brain odyssey about this guy who works at a movie theater. And it's hard to describe in plot terms deeper than that, I think, other than like he's a nice guy, he drinks a lot, he has sort of afflictions, maybe he dies and then the movie continues.
Yeah, it feels like a kind of it's very like set in Brisbane, Australia, and kind of like, oh, I'm trying to like make art and live in this kind of fuck ass, it's not Sydney or Melbourne kind of part of Australia.
Yeah.
It feels very about alcoholism, drinking all the time, and just like the experience of working a shitty job, living in a cultural wasteland, and drinking all the time as a curse that settles into you and makes you more and more cursed over the course of a couple
Mm,
hours, and just like kind of think Inland Empire was honestly structurally felt like a touch point for me of just like
yes.
we are pushing through this curse into this like wandering through this kind of surreal metaphorical wasteland nightmare labyrinth. Very, very fun. We had a great time with that one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so glad to have seen that one.
Then, oh, you did catch one of the short blocks that I didn't. Anime no Bento. Tell me about that one.
Sure. So Anime no Bento is an annual block of independent and student animated films from Japan. This year there were, I want to say, 4 or 5, and one of them in particular is my favorite thing I saw at the festival this year, just exquisite. And then another was like, it was almost like the pilot for a really great TV episode. I'll be pretty quick on those ones because they were quite short, but both of those were like, I would say, some degree of dystopian or post-apocalyptic. One centers on two young children just like sort of voyaging through the Japanese countryside on their own. Super, super sweet. And then the other is about sort of like a military academy where people can turn into guns.
Hell yeah.
It was fucking awesome.
And last but certainly not least, I will talk about The Devil's Bride. This is a world premiere, but of a restoration of this movie from 1974. It is a Lithuanian rock opera. It like took a lot of inspiration from Jesus Christ Superstar, but pulling from like Lithuanian folk tales of this like devil who, angel who gets cast out of heaven because he wants to fuck too much and lands in a lake near this small Lithuanian town and just
Shit.
causes a whole bunch of trouble throughout, basically, which was like all over the place in a really delightful way, colorful, like felt like it was like on shuffle. I'll get more into it. We get to it, but like, really, if you like a really chaotic, beautiful, raunchy 70s rock opera with like this heavy Soviet Lithuanian influence, really, really, really worth it. So those are all the movies.
Those are the
Um,
movies.
Otherwise, how have you been?
I have been good. I had been just like super exhausted and overwhelmed with just like everything I had to do, but then you and me and our partners went on a freaking vacation together.
Yeah.
And since then I've been feeling great, honestly. It was so
Aw.
restorative. We went to I say this as if you were not one of the people I did this with, but we went to the town sort of at the mouth of the St. Lawrence River where my dad is from.
Yeah.
It's just like a very quiet little spot with like some botanical gardens nearby and a lovely little beach. And honestly, I just caught up on like weeks of sleep. It was super nice.
I had also been like, I'm working so much, I'm fucking stressed out, and it
Mm-hmm.
was truly, it was so good. I saw seals. I went out kayaking with your dad, and we saw
Yeah.
like 6, 8 seals all like basking on this rock, and then some of them like jumped off into the water and came like 20 feet away from us to kind of like poke their heads up and be like, "What's up?"
Hmm.
It was so good.
That's delightful. What else have you been up to, Sadie? It's been like a month since we recorded.
It's always the thing where when it's been a month, I'm like, man, I don't even know what I've been up to. It's always,
Yeah, yeah.
let me think. I went to the Fine Arts Museum. I went to the Montreal Fine Arts Museum once again. Call back to, I think, the very first episode we recorded was after I'd gone to the Georgia O'Keeffe exhibit. I went to the one that was like, it's centered around, oh, I don't remember her name, this art dealer, this like early 20th century Parisian art dealer.
Yeah, what was her name? I saw this too.
Oh, nice.
Bertha Weil? Berta Weil, perhaps?
Yeah, I think Berta Whale. Yeah,
Berta Weil.
we tried all
One
of
of
them.
the
We
above.
got there. So it was kind of like a bunch of works that she had in her gallery, but there was like some Picasso, Matisse, Chagall, as well as a bunch of other ones that were really, really cool.
Yeah, there was some really cool stuff there. Actually, if you live in Montreal, there's a couple weeks. It's on for a couple more weeks, and I do recommend checking it out.
Yeah. I know what else we did together that I see upon your very list.
Oh no, whatever could it be? Yeah, I came over to your house and we did my first ever estrogen injection.
Yeah.
First day on hormones, baby. I've never tried that before.
I'm telling you guys, put it on the record. It's the world's first mother-daughter Twin Peaks podcast.
Yeah, so I've been on like estrogen pills for like a million years, but I don't know. I feel like injections are supposedly like the healthiest and most effective option. And I knew that I was gonna, if I had never done it, it would always be like a what if. So I at least want to know if it's gonna be good for me or not. And it was cool. It was fine. I was really scared, but you were very helpful.
Yeah. Shout out to listeners. Inject estrogen now.
Now, 1, 2, 3.
Go.
I'm picturing someone just like scrambling, like, oh, fuck, fuck.
Yeah. Okay, well, now that you've all done that, we could talk about the movies.
Yeah. Okay, Sadie, do you want to introduce us to this first one?
Yeah, so I talked a bit about it before, but the Serpent's Skin. Yes, this is Alice Mamiko, who's also Australian. Big Fantasia for us for weird movies from Australia.
It's
Um,
true.
who is only 20 but has released 5 feature films, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, go to hell. That's nuts. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So Vam, Bad Girl Boogie, T Blockers, which is the one that I've heard the most about, say Tranic Panic, one last year called Carnage for Christmas, and now The Serpent Skin, which is the one that we saw. So opens on girl who's, you know, kind of also 20, living at home with her shitty parents, or like her mom and a shitty stepdad. We get like literally one scene of this, but they're arguing and then she leaves. She's out of there. It sucks. She's out of there. She okay, this movie is Australian. A lot of the actors are Australian. It seems to be taking place in Australia. This
we arrived to my first embarrassment of the episode.
Oh no.
One of my first notes in the movie is, wait, if it's LA, why is everyone Australian?
Wait, why did you think it was LA?
Honestly, I think I was thinking about Mulholland Drive.
That's really, really funny.
And like when you think about, I don't know, she's American.
Yeah, her parents also sound American, so I'm like, did they just move to Australia? Like, we see her take the train. I like to think that she just took the train from like Florida to Australia.
Yeah, right. And her sister lives in Australia also and is American. And yeah, I just more and more characters spoke in Australian accents. And then I was like, oh, maybe this isn't LA.
That's really funny, Lily. It's just like every movie takes place in LA. That's where movies are, guys.
I feel so silly.
So yeah, moves to the city, living with her cool older sister, who is really giving, like, definitely one of my notes is like the older sister is what millennials look like to Gen Z.
Ooh, yes, definitely.
Just like there's like the scene near the end where she's like watching her show, drinking her wine. She's like, I'm cool. I know about fucking Alice Cooper or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, moves in with her sister. She hits it off with the emo boy who lives in the same apartment building as her sister. They hook up. Her
They
sister's
hook
like,
up.
they hook up. I'm saying that's the Australian accent.
Oh my God.
Okay, they hook up. Her sister's like, wow, get it, girl. But then she's having like weird visions. Oh my God, what's up with that? Meanwhile, she wanders into a record store where Buzz, the older guy running the store, immediately offers her a job. We get a one of my favorite sequences of the movie, which is this her learning how to work the record store montage, which is like felt like several minutes of just kind of her walking around and like, wow, running her fingers along the records and
And like
laughing with Buzz.
laughing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And then you basically never go back to her job after like the next scene.
I think they needed to establish why she had such emotional investment in the next scene when this guy shows up to rob the record store, and she reveals that she has psychic powers, to which she starts making the guy bleed from his eyes and then run away. And meanwhile, this other transgender woman, who's goth, is like, oh, I sensed her powers, and shows up and talks to her and is like, hey, we both have powers. We're witches. What you just did to that guy, it's called popping. And I don't really know.
They'd been seeing each other in visions and having some sort of strange like psychic link, right?
Yeah. And this other girl is like, I know all about our powers, except not that much because they burned the old books, the Inquisitioners, and now we're all still in hiding. But then she's like kind of like your mentor, but it's also like doesn't know enough to be able to do that, which I think is one of the things that I'm not sure works about the movie. But long story short, she's also like, and we're in love, and they kiss, and then they're fucking and they're dating. And shout out to women. There's another delightful montage of them kind of like using their powers throughout the town to like burn a turf poster. And I think in my one of my favorite shots, like magically whisk the cigarette away from a pregnant lady who's about to smoke while pregnant.
Like like 9 months pregnant, just to really hammer it home.
Yeah,
this is like a halfway to a prestige horror and halfway to like a slapstick comedy. I don't know. A lot of it is actually very campy and goofy in a way that like occasionally works.
I think that's the part that I liked the best. And I think the description of this one says that it like takes itself more seriously than her previous one. That was like what Fantasia had to say about it, at least. And it kind of makes me think like maybe I would like T-blockers more, because I think when it was campy is when I was having the most fun. But anyway, they're having a great time. And then meanwhile, her girlfriend gives a tattoo of an Ouroboros, a symbol she dreamed of, to the emo boy that she'd fucked. And oh my God, it actually is possessing him, and he's now possessed by the Ouroboros demon because of how she's a witch and it made it happen. And he is going around town fucking. We get introduced to like their two other friends around the city who keep calling him daddy, which I'm like, girl, he cannot be. This is not daddy. I'm sorry.
That's a guy. He has a little baby face.
Yes, he does. And then he's going around fucking and then kind of entering demon mode and like sucking the life force out of people and leaving them all catatonic. they're like, oh no, we don't really know what this is, or if it's him, but we think it is, and we don't know what to do about it, but only a blood sacrifice can do it. And then Goth Girl tries to kill herself to like do the blood sacrifice, but the protagonist saves her, and they're like, there has to be another way. And then they try to do a trap for the demon. He kills her millennial older sister, or doesn't kill her, but like makes her catatonic. And then they corner him, and then they do magic to him. And then the Goth Girl like cuts some meat out of him that's like the manifestation of the demon and eats it. And she's like,
Cuts the tattoo, yeah.
oh, it's the tattoo, of course, yeah. And she's like, I hate myself, so I won't kill people. You're gonna starve. And then the demon is in her, but she could control it, and everyone's back to normal. The end. That's the movie, basically.
That's the movie. Okay, well, I feel like we've hinted at this already, but I didn't love this movie. What did you think of it?
I wanted to like it more than I did. I think, okay. I think the big things for me, I'm going to start with the positive. I think when it's campy, it's very funny. I think I had seen a review that was like not a fan of the montages, but the montages are my favorite part. I think.
Wow.
Wow to which?
Just the montages, they were so silly and felt so out of place to me. I'm glad that you enjoyed them.
I think that's when it was doing camp in a way that I was like having a lot of fun with. Again, just like of what genuinely felt like 2 minutes of like her being like, oh my god, I love record store, I love to get job at record store, or like they're like, oh we're popping up around town and doing our magic, was all very goofy. I think really honestly, like some of the acting was like not the best, but in a way that I think if it was more leaning into it, I would have fun with. Like, honestly, we'll get to it a bit when we talk about fuck toys, but I was thinking about how, I forget, have you ever watched any John Waters?
No, actually.
Oh man, you should watch some John Waters. John Waters has like, is I think his movies are really good at having people act quote unquote badly in a way that fucking rules and is hilarious, and like not in a like laughing edit way, but it's just like, this is perfect for the tone that this movie is doing. And I think some of the acting in this, it feels a bit more like, definitely the millennial older sister has the like I don't know, like over enunciated CW TV show delivery, you know what I mean?
Oh my god, definitely. Yeah, it's also sort of overwritten in the same way.
That was definitely one of my big things, was like, we didn't need this much banter in every scene.
This much banter, or like, I don't know. I'm happy if they don't talk like people, but they talk like they're trying to fill time, sort of. Like, I think everything is said with about twice as many words as it needs to be.
Which, as two bitches who routinely put out 3-hour podcast episodes, we know nothing about. But yeah, I don't know. I think like that is a lot of it. And also, I just described the plot, and it takes like an hour for them to get to a point where it's like, oh my god, we tattooed this guy and now he's doing things. And then it kind of just gets resolved in the last like 10 minutes, if that.
That's it. Okay, also like the whole thing about like, oh my god, the tattoo must have put the devil in him. That is just like intuited, or that is
Yeah.
They just figure that out in a really long conversation scene in bed.
Oh my god, it's so long. Well, it's two of them back. Okay, because here's the thing. They're in bed and they're like, we keep hearing about people across town are getting turned catatonic. Fuck. And they're like talking about what to do about that the whole time for like what feels like 10 minutes. And then they're like, wow, we don't know. And it's also, again, I'm like, okay, you have this girl who's like, I can tell you, I can teach you the old ways, but she also doesn't know shit. She's just like, she's like, I don't know. We're just figuring it out. But I think it's a demon, and I think it needs a blood sacrifice. I read that in a book when I was younger, which...
Wait, but the whole thing that she was saying is that they burned all the books.
I know they burned all which, again, you know, I could take it as like, I don't need to, like, CinemaSins plot hole ding it if it's funny, but there's talking for so much about what to do about it, and then the protagonist leaves, and the goth girlfriend is like, I have to kill myself, and has a like little killing herself sequence, and the protagonist like senses it from across town and is like, no, and runs back to her and stops her. And then they have the exact same lying in bed talking about what to do scene for another 10 minutes. It's like, girl, you
Oh
did the same scene
man.
twice.
And
No.
this is when the tension should be rising, because this is when we're finding out about the whole demonic thing. And it was just like the slowest part of the
I
movie.
know.
Right at the end. Yeah, that was tough to
Yeah.
swallow.
Yeah.
Um, Honestly, okay, the thing about it feels sort of emblematic of my issue with the dialogue that the girlfriend first says they burned all the old books, so we have to, like, we're on our own. And then later she just completely says the opposite thing. She says, maybe we don't need the books, maybe we can do it ourselves. But like, it feels like each of those was just said for maximum pathos in the moment.
Yeah, totally.
um there are a lot of lines like that. Like the main character's sister in the start says like, oh, you haven't changed at all. And then like a scene or two later goes, oh, you've changed so much.
Yeah.
And I know that that could be described as an arc, but I don't know, it didn't feel like an arc to me. Okay, I have one note, one thing that I really appreciate as like uh just a person who's been like messing around in video editing programs since 2012 or whatever. This movie has a lo-fi aesthetic in the same way that like a YouTube sketch
That
does.
is exactly, I was going to say the same thing. It's really interesting because I was thinking about like, it is interesting to think about like the kind of low budget aesthetics that haven't been glamorized yet, you know? Like kind of how for a while all the indie games were doing like pixel graphics, and now you can do PS2 graphics and it counts as retro or whatever. Like it has that
Yeah.
sheen of like, oh my god, it's like back in the day. But in if you tried to make something have like shitty PS3 graphics or whatever now, people, it wouldn't, like, it's the same. I Because yeah, definitely the look of this movie is kind of like very digital, kind of like blown out, like the color is too colorful in a way that is giving like YouTube originals in a way though that I but like I think there is something interesting about that as like a, like, I think going for the like, VHS-y, like, what the, you have to kind of artificially create that like more antiquated low budget aesthetic in a way that is more reaching for like artificiality and like putting something on than just having the YouTube originals look. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this just looks like something that was shot on a pretty low budget. And in particular, I really, really like there's an effect that happens. It's sort of like a chromatic aberration, like 3D, like red and blue glasses 3D look when the eye glowing attack guy power is activated.
Oh, that is great when it looks like they're hitting the chronic because their eyes just get all red and pink. No, honestly, that, as far as like the goofy effects, that one's phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, to me it's just like so clearly like a Final Cut Pro stock effect or something, and I find that really endearing. And
Yeah.
it reminded me of, okay, the tone of this movie felt, and this is like a girl who has seen two horror movies, but it felt very Jane Schoenbrunn to me. It's just like low key, vibesy, whispery, just like barely even qualifying as horror movie,
Hmm.
right? And like that sort of pretty amateur aesthetic works in that same way for me. I
Hmm.
don't think you've seen Jane Schoenbrunn's first movie, which is what's it called? A self-induced hallucination. And it's basically just a compilation of like Slenderman videos that already existed.
Oh yeah.
It feels like, oh, Clementine, come here. This movie feels like sorry. That aesthetic makes this movie feel like this is like people playing around and having fun, which really endears me to the movie. Because there's a lot that I don't like about it, but when I think about it as like this is a couple dozen people in Australia making a trans movie that like just never would have existed otherwise, I think that is cool, and I can't bring myself to hate it for that reason, you know?
And honestly, I think like this girl is 20, right? And I think the things about it that don't work feel very written by a 20-year-old in a sense, like we
Yeah.
really get these long scenes of talking about how you know, how angsty one it, like how difficult it is, you know, like in a way that I'm like, yeah, I know we could pick up the pace. But I also think that like it is really like, I think it's cool as fuck that a 20-year-old transgender woman in Australia is getting to make all of these low budget feature films. And like,
Yeah.
if she's making this now at 20, what she's going to be making in 5 years is going to be cool as fuck, you know?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's really cool that this kind of thing is happening. I feel like, is it going to be a wide release success? No, but I could see it being one of those movies that a really cool person has on DVD, and they invite you over to show you, and you're like, holy shit, where did you get this? You know?
Yeah, I feel like it's also like I think the kind of inconsistencies and the visual styles, something that can sometimes age better, you know? Like, I think watching, they're like, I can watch like low budget queer horror movies from like the 90s that also have these pacing issues, but it feels, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, it's of the time. I think in a way that I can work. I want to also talk about two other things related to what you mentioned. One, okay, you mentioned like vibey whispery, which is another thing. When we first met the protagonist and her sister, the sister again really has the like, and I'm going to say this now. This is, I'm enunciating all of my lines. You better watch out. And the protagonist is like, yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, no, whatever. And at first I was like, oh, I kind of like that. Like, I kind of like her more. She's kind of, you know, a bit more like understated, but she just kind of kept that tone throughout the whole movie. Like, kind
She
of all of.
totally did. I don't know to what extent she is like acting or that's just the actress's personality, but either way, it's like it is honestly a kind of trans girl, and
Oh,
I love
absolutely.
seeing her on film. It's like it's what I have here is a girl who's like very pretty and theoretically has a lot going for her, but she just lives like in her throat. She is just so tense and preoccupied all the time.
Well,
It's like she's too preoccupied to act, which sort of works for me.
yeah. The other thing was about the effects. One of the other effects moments that fucking cracked me up is like there's this turf poster of like, wow, get these men out of women's spaces or whatever.
Protect biological women, gender perverts out.
Gender
And it's
perverts
just
out.
like
Yeah.
8.5 by 11 paper on a wall.
Yeah. And they're gonna practice their magic because she's gonna like light it on fire with her finger. Um and then they like, I guess for whatever, I don't know why, but they super did not like light it on fire. In like, they
Yeah.
instead put this like, again, that feels very like iMovie, like Final Cut, Premiere, whatever, like effect of like fire eating away the poster in a way that looks kind of really bad, but in a way that, like you're saying,
Yeah,
is kind of really endearing. Like, part of me is like,
it
could you have
is.
just lit it on fire? But it was very funny. Yeah.
Oh my god, and the sound effect they play is like an explosion.
It's so good. Also, I love how when that happens, there's like two guys that like jump out of a car in this back alley to be like, hey, you can't take down that turf poster.
They're fucking Mormons. They're like missionaries. It's so funny.
See, when we're talking about all this, I'm like, man, this movie is good. But I think it was just like, there was big stretches of it that was just like way too dialogue heavy, and dialogue in a way that like is a bit too like, and you like the characters. We're gonna like these. You're gonna like these characters because of their little jokes and japes at each other. Aren't they so
Oh
likable? And
yeah.
I'm like, ugh. Um, honestly, I kind of want to just do a rundown of other things in the movie that I liked.
Yeah, lightning round, hit me.
Okay. Um I love that the emo boy has a bunch of tattoos, and at one point when they're fucking, they focus on him having a fuck Trump tattoo. I don't know if that's just the actor has that or they put one on him, but also you're in Australia, which makes it really funny.
See, you can't blame me for thinking this was Los Angeles, right?
Exactly. I love that when we see his band playing, he's wearing the like t-shirt with tuxedo and bow tie print on it.
Oh my god.
I love that when the girlfriends fuck, she's like psychically fingering her.
That was so hot. She just holds her hand over her
It's really
crotch.
good. So
Yeah,
funny.
no, that was wonderful.
I love that when Demon Emo Boy is fucking in the bathroom, they have like they're showing like all the graffiti that's on this bar bathroom wall, and then in another shot, it's clearly just like on a big piece of like brown, like construction paper
Yeah.
that they just like put on the wall so that they weren't actually drawing on the wall of the set that they were using. Is very funny.
Yeah.
One other thing, which is also just like how much it's really like what you're just a trans girl, but you're so epic, and you need a slightly older goth girl to come and tell you how epic you are, and then she's all dressed in
Mm.
black and you're dressed in white with angel wings, and you're going around town, and like in terms of like how it hits all that, and oh, you're working at the record store with old Buzz, who's always like, you work too hard. It's like in terms of this very particular what's the word,
Wish fulfillment?
yeah, wish fulfillment, very very fun. So like all that said, loved all that. I just think you can't be like an hour into your movie about to confront the villain, and you're now doing the like, imagine it's like a video game, we can hack the rules, but sometimes the rules break or whatever, and it's like we gotta get this shit, that's just gotta be first act. Get that, we meet the characters, we learn about magic, we move on. So that's my main criticism.
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
Oh, and last one, I love when she's eating the tattoo at the end. They really put some like slurp sound effects in there, which was very very funny.
As far as actual horror, that impressed me. Like cutting out a piece of a person's skin and then eating it was, yeah, that fucked me up. That was really gross.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I only have one for the lightning round, which is the strangest comic relief character of any movie. I don't remember her name. She's like Bling Christine or something.
Oh,
She's like a
her,
neighbor.
yes. Kind of like hitting the Miss Frizzle, honestly.
Yeah. So this is another woman who lives in this like apartment complex, and she's known as like a busybody neighbor who's always looking at other people. And her whole shtick is that she wears a lot of plastic jewelry and she walks around with it, and it clacks. It goes clack, clack,
I
clack.
think they called her like Bling Jangles or something.
Blink, yeah, something like that. Something like that. And you just get a bunch of shots of her like looking at the camera and going, "Argh," and like shaking her fist. It was so goofy and out of place. Yeah, that's mine. For me, I gotta be honest, this is like a 4 out of 10 movie, but I'm glad it exists.
Honestly, I some friends of mine who saw T Blockers really really liked it, and I think if T Blockers is campier and like cuts to the action faster, I kind of want to see T Blockers to see like what is. I want to see what else you can do. I am curious. So yeah, the Serpent Skin.
The Serpent Skin.
Lily, tell me about the Wailing.
Yeah, okay. The Wailing, a movie in 3 acts, each one focusing on a different woman afflicted by this mysterious and kind of contrived curse. The first one is a young, like, university student in, I want to say, Spain, in like present day, like maybe late 2010s. She has like a long distance boyfriend, and her life is okay, and she's adopted, and we find out that her birth mother died a month ago and also had just gotten out of jail for a murder. This girl starts having these visions of, no, what is it? Oh yeah, okay. I'm struggling to explain this a little bit because honestly the mechanics of the evil thing are a lot to wrap my head around. But essentially, when she is in photographs, when she is taking pictures of herself, she keeps noticing this tall, scary man in the background who is not appearing like in person.
Ooh.
And then she is calling with her boyfriend one day, and the scary man shows up in the frame of the video and kills him, but he can't see it because it can only be seen through a camera. She is super unwell. She's like afraid of sleeping because she's worried the guy will get her. So she just sort of spirals into fear and paranoia. And then, oh yeah, okay, there's this other thing, which is that there's this tall, scary apartment building, and she thinks she hears like some sort of wailing sound coming from the apartment building. and she feels connected to it somehow. So she insists that her friends take her there, and she breaks into a vacant apartment, and then in there, the guy gets her, and she does.
Whoa, damn.
Yeah. Second act, easily my favorite. Late 90s, La Plata, Argentina. We are following a lesbian film student, or like, I guess like a high school student with a film assignment, who starts following around this woman in her city with a camera at a distance, very, very spookily for weeks and weeks, and turns this footage of her into a film. Everyone hates the film, but she keeps making them. She's like super horny for this girl.
This kind of rules.
Yeah, no, this is a really great second act. So she's like super turned on by this whole process. She's like a little freak voyeur, but also a mysterious figure keeps showing up in the footage.
Uh-huh.
And at one point, she breaks into this girl's backyard to film her naked right after having sex with a classmate of hers. And she sees the figure, the creature, who looks quite a lot like Slender Man, which kind of down, like, kind of downgrades the horror of it for me. It's just a tall, scary guy. At some point, she decides to befriend the girl. And they start hooking up also, and they go out like partying and stuff. Yeah, it's great. But then the girl discovers, hey, you've been filming me. What the fuck is this? What is happening? And they communicate like, hey, who's that guy? Who's that guy who's showing up all over the place all the time? And then the tall, spooky guy comes and snaps the lesbian voyeur's neck. Cut to Act 3. It turns out that woman who had been filmed naked and, you know, was the voyeur subject is the mother of the girl in Act 1.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. She has, tall figure man has just snapped her friend's neck, and now she's like alone in a bedroom with her dead friend. And so she just has to get the fuck out. She starts running. Obviously, she's accused of this murder. And this part doesn't totally land for me. She breaks into an apartment building that is the exact same as the apartment building in Act 1, which was also shown in Act 2. Even though all of these took place in different cities, there's just like this one huge white apartment building in all three cities with the same vacant apartment that they are all drawn to for some reason. This mother character, Marie, breaks in and she finds a bunch of crying women in there, and there's the freaky tall guy, and then she leaves because she's going to get killed, upon which point she is arrested. So there are a lot of mechanics. Like I said, there's the tall guy, there's the fact that you can only catch him on film, there's this apartment building, there is the wailing sound that keeps happening. It's just like, it's hard for me to grasp what exactly is happening supernaturally. All of these things feel more or less unrelated to me, and some are more interesting than others. Like a tall guy that follows you around is pretty stock horror fare, but same apartment building in 3 cities honestly fucking works for me. It's like,
yeah, I feel like I really want to see this one. Like, we love when the camera is the method of violence. Someone should make a video essay about that or something. We all love that one shot from It Follows with the tall guy walking through the door. Big fucked up apartment building as like source of the evil. I'm very intrigued by what you're saying about this. This sounds really fun.
The thing is, like, by the end, it was really feeling like this was a cipher for, you know, women's generational trauma passed down like from daughter to daughter and so on. But the apartment building was like, it couldn't have been built before the 70s is the thing. And then the women inside seemed like they were from a 100 or 300 years ago. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just like trying to take this too literally.
That doesn't bother me, honestly. I want to see this because everything you're saying that you don't like about it, I'm like, I don't mind when there's contradictory, or like I think if done well, I guess I can see a lot of like contradictory images as like a part of a supernatural metaphor working. And like, to me, the idea of this apartment building that couldn't have been 300 years old but has people in it, that sounds great. That sounds fucking spooky and like, hell yeah.
Sure.
Fucked up eternal apartment building that reaches into the past. I love it.
It is worth watching. Like I do actually, I would say it's a soft recommend for me.
Uh-huh.
Just because it does feel like it takes on ideas without, I don't know. It's tough to read as anything other than like the feminist thing, but then on that point, it doesn't say much necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But that second act is so killer. I mean, just the idea of like, okay, let's say a 19-year-old girl with a sexual fixation on a stranger who keeps following her around and filming her and like masturbating to the videos. I mean, that's unique, you know? And it was very tense. It was very tense.
It sounds like I'm reminded a bit of very different tonally, but in some ways, Chungking Express, featuring. Have you
Oh,
seen that one?
yeah.
Yeah, you know, another two-part, like multi-part movie with young woman being a weird stalker and voyeur, and a kind of you have to stand her way. Also, kind of reminds me of The Beast, which honestly, La Bête, from 2023, which we should watch. We should just
Oh, I
watch.
really want to see
Yeah, we
that.
should watch that. In which a woman in kind of a like sci-fi near future is going through a thing that's supposed to purify her DNA, quote unquote, by making her
Oh.
relive past lives in which she was like cursed to die in different ways,
Wow. Okay,
fucked up
wait. I don't
ways.
want to. I don't want to hear too much more
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
this.
That's all I have to say about it. But in that sense, feels very similar to the Wailing. Honestly, I'm gonna try to find this one. I'm very intrigued.
I would say if you have the opportunity to see it, it is not like something I've seen before. So
All right. Well, shout out.
shout out, shout out.
Uh, shall we want to talk about fuck toys?
Yeah. Oh man, tell me about it.
Okay, so yeah, fuck toys. I'll run through a quick summary again. So, uh, uh, the AP is the kind of played by Annapurna Saram, kind of writer director star, uh, is opens on her consulting with again Big Freedia, on this like kind of like floating dock in the middle of this like swampy lake. That's really beautiful.
Mm,
One of the things I really have to give to this movie is it is like it's shot on film and it does a great job of that. Like it
cool.
is color, like I kind of reference Barbie movie in the sense that it is colorful and just beautifully lit, beautifully shot. Everything is lush and like bubblegum artificial in really good ways, and like so from the opening shot, really really beautiful. And Big Freedia essentially is like, yeah, you have a curse. um
Shit.
We're gonna need $1,000 and you're gonna have to get a baby lamb, and we're gonna have to sacrifice the lamb. And she's like, fuck, and kind of goes on a quest to try to raise $1,000. We meet up with her friend. What is her friend's name? Danny. Little kind of, you know, butch mask non-binary Danny with an eye, of course.
Ooh, I'm blushing.
It's funny. I'm realizing how much we do this. We rely on like both the official Twin Peaks wiki and like having like, I took my notebook, but I wasn't actually taking notes during it. Which I also realized I had my notebook for some of the other ones that I saw in theater, and I'm like, wow, this is illegible. I just had it in the dark, not looking at what I was writing.
Yeah. Yeah, same. It's really rough.
So essentially is having a bunch of misadventures, like fucking clients. There's a Danny ends up trying to make some money by fucking a James Frank Cohn, who's
What?
like I'm a celebrity. is just like James Franco, but Franco. It is extremely funny.
That's really good.
They are like go to a party as call girls, and then gets kicked out for trying to hook up with one of the chefs at this place. Um, there's a great bit where ends up like we see her with one of her clients who's like, oh, I'm just trying to be a nice guy, I'm going through so much. Why am I telling you all this kind of guy? And then when they're like, fuck, our pimp, like he kicked me out. We don't have any money. They're like, well, I guess we have to call him. And then, and I think the best sequence of the movie, spend the night at his place. And he's like, listen,
Okay.
you have to be really quiet. My wife and kids are here. Just stay in the basement. Don't make any noise. He's trying to like sneak them into the bathroom so they can piss like without his family seeing, and then just like cut to it's the middle of the night and she's just taking food out of the fridge and eating it and is like, oh, and then it's the kid coming up behind. She's like, oh, you want some? He's like, yeah. And then the wife wakes up. They're like, oh my god, we're robbers. The get out, whatever, etc.
Oh my god.
Meanwhile, in all this, kind of like mounting throughout it, it's like comedy, but mounting throughout it is like it's getting more and more kind of spooky, or not spooky, but like more and more like, oh, I'm having to encounter misogyny and like the reality of sex work in a less camp and more like serious this sucks way. And it kind of mounts, there's a point where Danny's saying like, oh, I was roommates with this guy who was like the mechanic, and like he had this reputation for being a serial killer, but he was just a really nice guy. It just goes to show like you can't judge a book by its cover. AP's like, but was he killing the girls? They're like, oh yeah, slicing them up.
Oh my god.
And AP ends up getting referred to like, oh, there's this client. He's kind of a weird guy, but it's a lot of money. And, goes over to the client's house and says, oh my God, he's so nice. Like maybe they're in love. They're really but then he's the mechanic. And then like, it actually does takes like a very serious turn into like, no, this guy is like now the type of client who's like, is going to try to kill you in part because of his, like, he's having a kind of crisis of masculinity. And yeah, it gets like dark real fast, basically. And she ends up stabbing him in his pool. And meanwhile, Danny, who was separated, was like, oh my God, I just realized she went to the mechanic, runs up to try to save her. But the little butch with the blonde hair kind of looks like the mechanic with the blonde hair. She just stabbed him to death, but she's still super eek. And then Danny shows up and she slices Danny's neck. But then, and it's all like, damn, it's fucked up. But then that was the baby lamb that you had to sacrifice to end the curse. And then it plays back in the USSR, which was Danny's kind of like theme song earlier, as Danny is lifted up into heaven and it ends the curse. And then, yeah. So, really, really, really fun. I think.
Yeah.
I had some complaints about it. So.
Hit me.
I think it is the promo that we were sent about it was really like, this is like John Waters, and it's not very like John Waters. I just like had somewhat mismatched expectations going in, because they were like, this is a horny, campy movie. And I don't think it's horny. I think it's sexy, and I don't think it's campy, but it is funny. You know what I mean? Like it never quite hits that like camp balance. It is too self-aware, self-conscious, and like the delivery throughout is kind of the like it you know what it actually reminded me of was like Superbad.
Oh, funny.
I'm just gonna let it
I mean, yeah, sure. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I think it has like that kind of like 2000s, but also kind of like more recent kind of like bantery delivery style of just like like, wait, did that just happen? Oh my God, that just happened. We need to go. Wait, what the fuck? And I'm like, as soon as you do that, as soon as you're like calling attention to the weird thing that just happened in your like very kind of like naturalist dialogue, you're not doing camp. You know what I mean? You can't.
No, that's very true.
So I think that's the thing where I was like, oh, and it also like never really gets that trashy. There is like an opening scene where they're like pissing on a guy, like, but after that it kind of veers into more just were this kind of very colorful kind of bottoms, like queer colorful by way of A24 as a lazy shorthand, like bottoms 2023 vision of like this kind of super bad like raunchy comedy,
Word.
which I kind of wish that it was more trashy. I wish that it was more campy. I wish that it like committed harder to some of that stuff, but nonetheless, I think it is really, really, really fun. Honestly, kind of reminded me of like Bong Joon-ho, some of his stuff, and how it like will have this like really gonzo comedy and like kind of over the top melodrama, and then like get really bone chilling and just kind of ping pong between those, you know?
These comparisons you're pulling are very appealing. Like I really hope I can watch this one.
Yeah, I think I would love to watch it and again, honestly, because I think that's the thing. Going in thinking of more, because I really have to stress all the promo was like John Waters. It's like John Waters. Did you know it's kind of like John Waters? And then it wasn't, and I was like, but I think taking it on like these terms, I think it is really, really good. They said it didn't have distribution yet, which is crazy because this definitely felt like one of the most hyped ones of the festival. Like it was completely packed. They were like playing Kesha like in the like, you know, before the movie started, they had like a full playlist going, you know.
That rules.
But it definitely feels like this one will pick up distribution, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is a hit when it comes out. So I had some complaints, but overall really fun and like really visually beautiful, and I highly recommend Fuck Toys.
Hell yeah. Wow, we're doing this in record time, Sadie. That was 10 minutes.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, listen, that's my 10-minute Fuck Toys. Do you want to give me your thoughts on I Live Here Now?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, as previously stated, this is the movie in which a girl wants to get an abortion and she goes and hides away in a hotel. There's a little more to it than that. So I should have their names. I'm not just gonna say the girl, the other girl.
I definitely was like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not looking up the names of the characters in the Serpent skins, but I was like, the goth girl. I think we either need names or like solid archetype descriptors.
So the movie stars a character named Rose, who's like a struggling actress who might be about to get her big break. She finally had a meeting with like the big powerful Hollywood agent who is letting her audition for a role she's very excited about. However, she needs to lose 3 pounds in order to do this. She needs to lose 3 pounds in a week. So she starts doing that. This is a very thin woman. And there is a recurrent like distress around food here. So she starts like really, really over-exercising. She gets sick. And then she learns that it's because she was pushing herself really hard and she is in fact pregnant. Now, this came as a big shock to her because the main bit of her backstory is that as a child, she was subject to this really grisly medical procedure after which she was told she could never have children. So this is like in a large part a medical trauma horror movie, which I think is really cool and I appreciate. It feels like, you know, is it a blessing or a curse that she is now pregnant? You would think maybe a blessing because she seems like she had been very sad about what this surgery had done to her. But actually, her boyfriend is like an influencer dipshit. And when he finds out, he tells his mom, and his mom sits Rose down for a chat and is like, what the fuck is it? Something like okay, here's the other thing is I dropped my pen about 30 seconds into this movie, so I don't have notes. Just humiliating. I pulled up so fancy with my little notebook. I sat next to this guy and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, ooh, I'm press, actually. And then I didn't write down a single fucking thing. Okay. So Rose goes over to her boyfriend's house. So Rose goes over to her boyfriend's house to like talk all this out. And then comes the big reveal that the boyfriend's mother is SHERYL LEE. and she's like, we're a very rich family and we're very careful with our bloodlines and whatever. And so you're gonna see our doctor right now. And I want to say he's going to take the baby out of you and raise it in someone else or something really horrific like that. So she runs away. She like in her car racing down the highway, calls an abortion clinic and is like, can I come get an abortion? They're like, oh, well, you can take the pills, but we can't like give you an abortion because you're not far along enough or something.
And is SHERYL LEE the mom, I guess?
Oh yeah, sorry, I should spend a little more time on this. SHERYL LEE is the mom. She is playing I guess a little bit of a Twin Peaks reminiscent character. Like when they introduce her, it's in a real like stunt casting moment where it's like a slow pan onto her all in red in like a big armchair on a black and white floor, it clearly referencing, the red
That's so
room
funny.
in Twin Peaks.
That really is a like, I feel like that's the real test of my like anti-fandom stance, because I think if they did that for like, I don't know, fucking Star Wars or whatever, I'd be like, boo, fuck off. But the idea of doing that for SHERYL LEE Laura Palmer, I'm like, well, a little trashy treat for me, hee hee.
Ah. That's great. Anyway, so Rose decides like I'm gonna find a hotel room to get away from my boyfriend and his mom because they are calling me every 30 seconds. They seem to want to like follow me and find me. She goes to the only available hotel, which is really smoky and almost deserted. The other thing happening is that there are wildfires, like really bad wildfires throughout this whole movie. And so the air is just like really thick with smoke, which I think is actually a really smart way to do the Twin Peaks ambience thing, like in a modern context. It's like, oh, it's not misty Pacific Northwest, it's forest fire. She checks into this hotel that only seems to have one other person staying there. It is run by a very like cruel, sort of sadistic woman and a total sweetheart of like a front desk lady. She goes to the sauna a lot so that she can like lose water weight is the idea, and she keeps having these nightmares. Classic surreal movie things. It's a lot of dreams and stuff. Gradually, things just keep going wrong. She keeps like losing the abortion pills, or the people at the hotel are like threatening her. She doesn't manage to like send in her audition tape on time. It's all stuff like this. Gradually it becomes more and more like, oh, you can't just escape here. This place is actually the inside of your brain, or it's your life, or something like that.
It's some kind of Hotel California.
Yeah, the front desk lady, total sweetheart, is basically Rose as a child. The manager is a stand-in for Rose's mother.
Sure.
She has to kill the hotel manager in order to recover from her trauma. She tries to rescue the little girl, but fails.
Damn.
In one of the final scenes of the movie, having lost the abortion pill, she decides, upon realizing that this hotel is basically her body, she says, okay, well, if you, the other person staying in the hotel, eat glass,
whoa,
that will somehow terminate my pregnancy.
If she makes other people eat glass.
Yeah, no, she basically like, because now she realizes that this is all her, she can basically control the people in here. She makes her eat glass, and then she, kills her. Maybe this person was the fetus. I don't really know. But this was a cool scene. Really, really grotesque. And then she goes and she births a big crown, like I think it was made of sticks, and it was like a foot across. And then the movie's over.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's cool about this. a spooky hotel where things don't work normally is obviously a great setting, and the
Hmm.
production design was really cool. Like, I think there might have been a bit of nepo involved here, just in that I feel like they had a really solid budget to play with.
For
Um,
Julie Pacino? No way.
ha! Okay, we can say that. However, the movie is all about the trauma that her parents gave her. So I'm like, maybe they funded it out of guilt, or maybe they didn't.
I have some questions for you.
Please.
The promo was really like, this is David Lynch inspired. And it has SHERYL Lee, and clearly it does that Twin Peaks reference. Now, when I think about things being David Lynch inspired, I think a lot of them will just kind of use some of the Lynchian imagery but they don't get the sauce. They don't get the like real like dream association. Like, it won't be surprising. I think that's the thing. You know what I mean? It'll be like weird or dreamlike or surreal, but not in a way that does what I think when David Lynch's best out there imagery does, which is just like, now there's a white horse here. What the fuck does that mean? You know? This might come out before our episode of the podcast, which features a white horse, but if you're listening along and haven't watched Twin Peaks yet, get ready. But so my first question for you, Lily, is does it manage to be on the good side of the David Lynch inspired line?
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
It's it's tricky. It's very modernized. I mean, like the one of the stars, the boyfriend has since become like a very famous comedian, especially on
Oh my
social
God,
media.
that's really funny.
It's all about, iPhone makes a large splash here.
iPhone.
But the dreaminess, I would say, is totally nailed. And there are a couple really strong motifs. Like the fact that a wildfire is constantly blazing, I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And you can you sort of see the fire through like the grates, like the vents in the hotel rooms and stuff. The relationship to dreaminess, I think, was one of the more successful aspects of the movie, because a character will wake up from a dream and I'm like, ugh, so it was all just a dream. How original. But then it turns out that the dream actually did have implications, like did have consequences on this quote unquote real life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very ambiguous to what extent each character is like living in the same reality. They do a lot of cruel and transgressive things to each other. And it's like, is this allegorical? Well, it's allegorical, but like, is this literally happening or not? Like, and then there's also an aspect of like metafiction to it.
Mm.
The character finds a book that describes the plot of the movie, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, as far as imagery, I think it had like a decent visual identity of its own. It was way more colorful and cartoonish than like a Twin Peaks, for instance. It felt more modern. But I respect that this was taking a David Lynch influence and had a like distinct vision of its own. However, the absence of a couple like Lynchy elements made it is generally not a great watch for me. It was, in particular, the acting was really stiff for most characters. Like, it sort of had the same thing happening as the Serpent Skin, where the main character was a woman who was just really tense and had a wall up, you know? In the Serpent Skin, that worked okay for me, but in this one, it was like, this is supposed to be about her pain, and so I'm not really connecting. The biggest disappointment here for me was that SHERYL Lee did not give a great performance.
Damn, that was going to be my next question, is does SHERYL Lee slay?
Well, the thing is, she's being directed in this very quiet and sort of stiff way, where like I think she, oh my God, like as far as, aura goes, she could be terrifying. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So SHERYL Lee, the evil mom, same as Rose, is just being, like told to deliver her lines, I think, in a way that is like very uptight and sort of, I don't know. I could see this being a commentary on LA where everyone is like fake and concerned with their image or whatever. But unfortunately, everyone spends most of the movie in that mode. And then when they want to get raw or like get some pathos going, they sort of just scream. There's a lot of screaming in this movie, and it does not have a strong effect for me at all. Okay, the one exception is, who's the performer? Sarah Rich, who plays Sid. Sid being the front desk lady, gives like a wonderful performance. She is so good, and I think it's because she was being directed like a child. Like she was being told to act like super starry-eyed and full of love and innocent and very sensitive, in like stark contrast to everyone else in the movie. She was totally my favorite part of the movie, to be honest with you. And sort of the only reason I could connect with the core theme of like childhood trauma, her as a stand-in for it.
So, follow up to that. I think we are at a past the point of oversaturation on like prestige horror about trauma, both as just like there's been 10 million one of them. I feel like the 2010s kind of rung it, I think, kind of as dry as it gets, and I think a lot of them kind of can fall too much into the like it's all too one-to-one. This is just a metaphor for the idea of trauma as kind of like a totalizing cultural concept, and it just becomes too absorbed in the idea of like allegorizing that and doesn't develop itself on its own terms. So I guess my question to you is, does this feel like it passes the prestige horror about trauma test?
I would say that it is not pure allegory.
Okay.
In a way that I appreciated. Like, each character, yes, they represent, oh, this is Rose's mother or whatever, but they're also their own people and they have their own little quirks. It is like, it's not like I haven't actually seen Darren Aronofsky's Mother, but that's the movie that's always held up as like, this is pure allegory. It's not that. It's also a story that is pretty good. Unfortunately, the particular feminist commentary of it did feel like it came from someone who, I definitely would not say that she had an easy life. I mean, the pain is palpable, but maybe not like a super well-rounded or complete view of like how gender operates or sexual violence or so on.
I guess I also am just mean like, does it have sauce beyond being like a commentary or a metaphor? Like, does it get you?
Medium sauce.
Okay.
I would call this like a pretty mid movie. But if you like me, like are drawn to the idea of a surreal movie about a woman's medical trauma, I mean, yes, it's trauma horror is like oversaturated, but that particular one is not one I had seen before.
Yeah.
And it's one that I'm grateful exists. I mean, I've talked about my own experiences on that front before, and the movie opens with like basically a little girl on a surgical table surrounded by doctors who won't talk to her, and that level of it actually was great and did not feel like tired or overdone.
Okay.
I think it was honestly just good idea, not that well directed.
What's your sense of who'd like it and who wouldn't? I guess what's the line of who would or who's it for, who's it not for?
Yeah, I would say if you're a woman in your 20s through 40s and you have been in shitty relationships or you have been pregnant with someone who sucks, sorry, not with someone who sucks as in like the baby, but as in like
yeah, if the baby had bad vibes.
I don't know, like if a feminist Twin Peaks adjacent is appealing to you, I would say like keep an eye out for it. I'm struggling to picture the person who really head over heels adores it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I would say if you're not interested in these like themes or the setting, then you can probably skip it.
All right. I just want to shout out the letterbox review from friend of the show Ivory, who just says, Lynch, but doesn't really get it. X Giallo, X the body keeps the score. Derogatory, X that one episode of Doctor Who. I don't know which episode of Doctor Who they mean.
Holy shit.
Yet I was kind of gagged. Recommend, but bashfully.
Recommend but bashfully is totally it. Okay, what I guess one last thing, because we want to keep this moving, but the whole like the crown thing is like a motif throughout this movie. At the start, the like ditzy boyfriend looks over at Rose and is like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm drawing my crowns." These are my crowns.
I love that.
And then it comes up again later at the end, and I don't really know. I don't need to understand like one-to-one what it means, but it didn't do anything for me at all. It didn't have an impact for me. The idea of like having, I guess the last scene with the crown sort of struck me as accidentally anti-feminist because she's having an abortion, but what's really happening is she is giving birth, and then the thing she's giving birth to is a crown that just feels like sort of glamorizing or glorifying it in a way. By the end, it's like there's sort of a power in having given birth. I don't know, man.
My foam voice, my crowns. Anyway, wanna take 10 and then do a Grand Mockery?
Yeah, sounds good. We'll be right back. And we're back.
And we're back. Let's talk about a Grand Mockery.
Yeah, so the one that we saw together. That's great.
Yeah.
Let me grab my handy dandy notebook here.
I just did the exact same thing, getting up to grab my notebook.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the one that we saw together. I can Hey, can my upstairs neighbor stop putting picture frame on wall? Tuck tuck tuck. Anyway, I can get into it. I can kind of guide us through a summary, which is a complicated one for this one because this one's weird. So,
wacky.
A Grand Mockery, shot on film as well.
Shot on specifically 8mm, which is an uncommon choice. They did a Q&A and mentioned it was super impractical.
Yeah, very different from Fuck Toys, which was really using film for the kind of lush, jungle-y color of it. Whereas this one is very grimy, very like interested in film for the like how dirty it makes everything seem. So we're introduced to Josie, our protagonist. Here are the things we know about him. Works at a movie theater, drinks way too much. Actually, the first thing we learn about him is that he goes to the cemetery to leave letters for his friend Sal, who he's like, oh, I'm hanging out with the dead. It's unclear if Sal is like a friend of his who died, or like if he has friends who had died and is like sending letters to them, or if Sal is a real person, or if he just like goes to hang out with the gravestones and just like pretends to be talking to these gravestones of people. But he does that quite a bit. Works at a movie theater. It sucks. It's kind of it sucks in a kind of spooky liminal sort of way. His girlfriend plays the violin and keeps trying to get this one song right and can never get it right. He's taken care of his dad, I believe, who is like old enough to be kind of non-responsive, or like we know that he I think at one point just like tosses something at Josie when he's like teasing him or something, but is mostly just sitting around watching TV, and I believed it was supposed to be his dad. He is and he's always drawing at his desk. He's always making little drawings and stuff. At one point I think it's his friend who, I forget if I skipped over this, but like he's drinking way too much. He's hanging out with his friend who like in one of the earlier scenes is like, oh, I'm supposed to go to AA. I just had the meeting. Anyway, I'm drunk as fuck. I fell over and like bonked my head and like almost like, passed out and like almost hurt myself really bad the other night. And so we like the first half is kind of just his general malaise of Like, there's this great recurring bit where he's working at this movie theater, and this guy keeps coming up right after it's closed and is like, "Oh, hey, can I get a beer?" Which I guess they also used to sell beers at movie theaters. Do we do that here?
The artsy ones do. Yeah, like Park does, Modern does.
Actually, that's true. That's true. That's true. This guy, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, we're just closed." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's right there." They're all Australian. um, that like keeps happening. The guy's just kind of staring at him in an increasingly spooky way, and like, later he's in that on that same night he's like going to clean, and the guy is just like standing in the like entrance hallway to the theater, just like facing the wall, kind of very. It's really giving like Blair Witch Project kind of thing.
Also, the fact that we only ever see the movie theater with like one or two people in it is really
Yeah,
cool for me. Like it's definitely heavily suggested that Josie is around when it's open, but I assume because this is like just a practical thing, it's always just like just before opening or just after closing, you know?
Yeah, and like always his boss coming and being like, "Oh, someone puked in one of the bins. Can you clean it up? We have a function in the morning. You can't have it smelling. Oh, you're a legend, Josie, um,
Yeah.
we have like him like trying to get along with his girlfriend's friends. There's a bit where he like goes to this like party and they're saying something about like, oh, it's like the anus, and he walks in and they're like, oh, we'll call you Anus, and then for just the whole that whole scene they just keep calling him Anus, and he's like, I just want to go. I really don't like this.
Oh.
And
they also love to make casual conversation about death with him. Like they're like, "Oh, Josie, I thought we could talk about death."
yeah,
Just like he is somehow close to death or seen as like knowledgeable about it.
yes. And the general sense of malaise is just kind of mounting and mounting. He at one point goes to see, do you remember the specifics of like when he goes to see the guy who's like, you might be cursed and here's what you have to do about it?
Ooh, let me see if I have a note about this. God damn, I have a lot of notes.
This is definitely the one that we saw the most long ago, and also is the hardest to sum up. But so this sense of malaise is mounting. He like goes to see a guy who's like, oh, you're cursed. It's for this, I wish I could remember, but it's like this very specific thing.
But it's like a new agey, new agey weird guy who says you have to do something.
And then, but I wish that I could, so because also like in that bit, it like in that scene we also like intercut with like what looks like some like a guy giving a blowjob, and there's like a priest like there this movie does a lot of like, and we're just cutting to something else now, and like this is a big part of what adds to the sense of the malaise is like there's even just like early on there's like a scene where he's with his girlfriend, and then like they're hanging out, they're like feeling kind of weird, and then like the camera like shakes and she goes like, huh, and then the scene's over. And I thought it was like, did he attack her? But that isn't what happened. But it's like the kind of thing that's it's like it feels like it could have been a result of kind of the fact of filming on this 8mm film, and just like it just happened to end like that, or it's like it really doing the kind of Lynchian Inland Empire kind of thing of like how much of this was like where's the line between the kind of happy accidents of filming like that or what was intentional. But it's jumping around. There's a sense of malaise that's mounting. He feels like he might be cursed, and also there is definitely some like gender stuff throughout all of this, which we'll talk about. Certainly one of my notes of like things that we can hit, but this malaise definitely feels like this is why, especially when he's talking about being cursed, I was like, oh, is this supposed to be like a child sexual assault thing, or are you like with the priest and like the blowjob motions, or is it like you are feeling kind of gay with it? He at one point is like naked and his AA friend is like painting on him like Gautier, like like someone that I used to know style. He's like, oh, I'm gonna be a piece of art, there's no better thing to be. A lot, definitely very like tortured masculinity throughout all this. And then there's like a pivotal point that almost like happens off screen where all of a sudden we're then back in their apartment and his girlfriend is cleaning up his desk that he's been drawing on the whole time. And I was like, oh my God, did he die? Like, did he die off screen? And now we're seeing like her being like, I have to clean up all his stuff. Cause it feels inconceivable that would happen if he was still alive. And this is where it really feels for a second like it's going to veer. It's going to do the kind of thing that Inland Empire does, where it veers into like real horror, and it never quite does. But there's that one sequence there which is really great, which is like she's kind of going to bed. She's going to bed alone, which is the other thing that makes me feel like he died.
Yeah.
And then she like wakes up for half a second, spitting the blood, and is doing like this crazy sound design stuff. The other thing that it's been doing throughout all this is like putting these like intercut title cards saying like a new and horrendous addition to his life or something, with like just the most screeching, horrible sound design you could imagine for like
Yeah, it
2
was
seconds, and
good.
then just back to the movie. um, and then she finds a letter that's just appeared on the bedstand that says like, oh, it's from Sal. And it's like, oh, I used to write to Josie all the time. Come to the cemetery. So she goes to the cemetery, and this weird guy shows up, and she's like, are you Sal? He's like, no. And this is why I wish we'd recorded it earlier. But he has a like, no, but wouldn't you like to know, or a line to that effect? And they stole our pussy.
What?
When she says like, are you Sal? It's silent, and we see it in her subtitles. Which
Oh,
is one
yeah.
of the thing that we have in our little short film script that we'll make one day. When that happened, I was like, oh my God, it's our thing, which I'm sure is a thing that has been done a bunch, frankly. But so then we just kind of cut from there, and then we're back to Josie. And my read on it is that the whole second half is like he's in hell, basically, because everything, this kind of building malaise at the throughout the whole first bit, has now like boiled over into this like horrific comedy. There's this extended sequence of him working at this movie theater, but now like everything is so much has like boiled over from weird and malaisey to like, you know, your manager is like, oh yeah, you have to clean out the urinal, and like, you know, I'm gonna piss on you while you do it. And like he walks into we do see the movie theater full of people, but they're all kind of like glitching out. And then they're all like, hello, Mr. Josie. Also, over the second half of the movie, they're all calling him Mr. Josie. He has a weird penis-like growth growing out of the top of his head that he's kind of like trying to cover in bandages. He ends up like kind of trying to go back into his life. He meets the girlfriend, but she's like almost attacking him, like terrified of him, hates him, seems to like not even really remember him. And then he just kind of wanders into this North Queensland, and ends up at this bar where he's just being poured drink after drink after drink after drink endlessly, and it seems like he's just in this like hellish alcoholic limbo of all you can do is drink and lie around and not know where you are and get lost and wander and drink more, and you meet people but you don't really know who they are, and you dance and then you're scared, and then you hook up and then you're scared and you have sex with this girl. He runs off, and then it kind of concludes with him just kind of wandering this like green like kind of wilderness of this part of Australia as this growth on his head is becoming more and more phallic.
Narration starts also.
Yes, I should have mentioned there's been narration throughout the whole movie, and then in this last hellish segment it kind of switches from his voice to this like mocking, monstrous like, Josie went to the pond and it does this whole narration about how like he was lost for months swimming in a ocean of semen, and all he could do was be fucking grossed out, essentially, as he's kind of crawling through this Australian wilderland, wasteland, wilderness, all of those. And then sees his reflection, is horrified by it, grabs a rock, jumps into the water, drowns. The end. A Grand Mockery. Weird one to try to sum up, but I hope that communicates the broad strokes and certainly the vibe being this like disjointed. It felt like it was going to veer into horror, but then every time it never quite, it like really refuses to give you a release of any kind, including into outright horror, and just stays in this like weird comedic horrific malaise mockery throughout.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think of it as what I have here is endurance horror, or like horror by
Yeah.
way of endurance. It's less than 2 hours long, but it feels like it feels like a 3 hour hour because it's like constantly right at the edge of boiling over and it never does.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
these little moments of tension happen, but the lack of release makes it like really exhausting, sort of, in the same way that Inland Empire is. And I mean this like completely as a compliment, by the way.
Yeah, definitely.
I have a few things here.
Yeah.
There's an interesting, yeah, like repetition motif, I guess I would say. Like Josie is stuck in the cycle of a shitty job and the same song keeps being played over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also his friend or his girlfriend keeps playing this record, but it's always the same record, and at some point it starts like skipping and
Yeah.
repeating.
Well, and it's the record that she's trying to play on the violin. The sense I got is like she's listening to it again and again to try to get it right, basically.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah. It feels like this is maybe to create like to have us empathize with like sometimes having just like a boring life is horror, you know? Like nothing
Totally.
nothing that terrible happens to Josie on the surface level. He definitely doesn't have like an awesome life. He is this guy who like yes, definitely drinks too much and like has a kind of shitty job and like a his dad seems to be sick, but it's the repetition of these things that makes it like, wait, when are we going to get out of this? It like
Mm-hmm.
it refuses you narrative momentum for like
Mm-hmm.
70% of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big part of why this works for me emotionally is that I really like Josie. Like I think
Yeah.
he is a really sweet guy who's like trying his best and not always doing awesome, but the movie feels so like hateful for what it does to him, which is,
Mm-hmm.
according to your theory, kill him and send him to hell. Even though he has done nothing apparently that would merit that, you know?
Yeah. It definitely felt like if it's not even like he sinned and went to hell, but it like the alcoholism is very central to all of it. It feels like it's this mundanity, but it's also like the hell that he goes to is kind of the hell that he chooses to go to by drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. As it's like, he again, like the second
Sure.
scene in the movie is his friend being like, damn, I almost died slipping and falling and hitting my head while I was like blackout drunk.
And they like laugh about it.
Yeah, totally. And then they drink some more.
It is like the comedy definitely comes in at certain points with just like it's not a horror comedy because it's not a comedy. It's more like it's almost made scarier by the jokes, if that makes sense. Like the like, wait, why are you laughing right now? Why are you
Hmm.
joking? There's this one moment, as an example, after Josie, like, if you want to read it as dies and goes to hell, there's a violin that plays human voice sounds,
Oh yeah, that's when he goes to see the girlfriend. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is like the coolest thing, but also fucking terrifying, but
Yeah.
also hilarious because it's like a subversion of expectations. We've seen the violin be played so many times,
Yeah.
and now after this like arbitrary number of times, we get a switch up. Um, okay, this is neither here nor there, but after Josie quote unquote dies, there's also like on the radio at some point, I think in the bar, we hear the host say, next, we have the Josie Experiment with their new trans hit, Salute the Whore.
Yeah,
Why is it a trans hit? I don't fucking
I
know.
think it's supposed to be trance, the genre, because
Oh
it
my
is kind of like a
god.
trance. No, but I also wrote the same thing, but
Oh my god.
which yeah, that is really funny. I that because
God
I
damn
was like,
it.
oh, it's trance. That's so funny. This does make more sense of why you were like, yeah, it's definitely doing trance stuff. Which let's talk about that. Because
Yeah.
I think it's like okay, we definitely do see him in a dress at one point. I think when like it's kind of intercut as like a weird ritual where he's in a dress. We definitely have this like intercut kind of like blowjob imagery. We definitely get him at the end, throughout the whole end, being like, "Oh, I have a penis-shaped thing coming out of my head, and I hate it, and I have to cover it with bandages." That does look like FFS bandages, and
It
yeah,
does.
I forget, that's all the ones I had written down, but like there was definitely a whole thing throughout of like this crisis of masculinity in a way that's like somewhere on the queer and transgender spectrum. But yeah, what do you have more thoughts on all that? I kind of am like, I'm seeing it all and it feels like part of the like general kind of crisis of self, of like masculine self, that is throughout this movie. Like definitely the drinking and the mundane life as horror feels very trying to live a masculine life as horror, but I don't really have a more firm thought on all that. I don't know if you do.
Not necessarily. I guess there are a couple little hints at some sort of gender dysphoria. I mean, Josie being like, first of all, a guy named Josie, maybe that's normal in Australia, but here that's an entirely feminine name
Totally.
and his long hair and everything. But honestly, my read of it is, it reminds me of something director extraordinaire Joni Peppers told me about her movie Barbara Westchester, which is that she described that movie as a horror movie about having a body or something.
Mm.
It feels like dysphoria about being human and having
Mm-hmm.
like dysphoria about like having the kind of body that can have a hangover maybe, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like you want to get away from all of it, you know. Which the film absolutely refuses Josie. He doesn't get to like be alive and have joy and have his sweet little moments, but he also doesn't get to like escape into death.
Yeah. Yeah. Um Overall, I really liked it. It's funny because we saw it like 3 weeks ago now, and didn't take many notes, so we were having less to say about it specifically. But I think it, as far as a like nightmarish experimental, and like truly experimental, I think in the sense of although they were kind of disputing that in the Q&A after the movie, which we should definitely talk about. It's just trying a bunch of things, like the scene with the violin making human sounds, the like, oh, what different effects can we render on this 8 millimeter film with the people glitching out and her kind of like waking up, coughing up blood, and then she's back to normal. It's like doing, I think, a lot of what was made it through the monotony like really joyful to watch, was like, what crazy thing are they going to do next?
Yeah.
What's the next like weird formal way that they are going to render this nightmarishness? And I really liked all of those. um I'm a known sucker for this kind of movie, so I really liked it. I'm glad that you liked it too.
I really did. It was, I would even say, because of the shorter runtime, I enjoyed it a little more than I did Inland Empire.
Yeah.
Although I think I'm due for a rewatch on that one. For me, this is definitely like, if you like that movie and if you like the like sort of more hellish, less quirky David Lynch side that is just like all about this place fucking sucks, I really do strongly recommend it.
Yeah. Because Inland Empire is a movie that is kind of structureless, or and kind of plotless, although I think it has a bit of both of those. But it does make me think about like how it really does succeed at, I think, still having a emotional, like carrying the viewer through an arc throughout all that. I don't know, I was just thinking about how watching a lot of experimental movies as like a part of this Fantasia is like, it is really hard to do that, to put something weird or low budget or like improvisational or experimental together and have it come together in that way. And I don't know,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that, but I think this one does that too. I think if you like Inland Empire, I also kind of was in some ways reminded of Slacker, the Richard Linklater movie from 1991 or 1990,
Oh.
that kind of just like follows, it's just like drifting between a bunch of people around Austin, Texas. That's just like, here's this person's weird conversation. Anyway, this person's across
Ah.
the street. Let's follow their weird conversation, and just does that again and again.
Oh, love that.
Yeah,
Dazed and
yeah.
Confused, his other like one of his bigger movies, is similar in a way that I really dig.
Yeah, I feel like you'd really like Slacker. Slacker's much more, comedic and lighthearted. This is kind of like if Slacker sucked to be in, but I think that's. I also kind of get some We're All Going to the World's Fair. Honestly, I think in the,
Oh.
walking around the cemetery, this like a lot of that movie has a similar like, we're seeing people walking and just kind of the detached horror of this mundane life. Those are all ones that if you like them, I would check this one out. And then, okay, we do need to talk about the funny Q&A that we had after it, which was a real
Oh my
like,
God.
okay, here's the thing. I don't think there's ever been a good Q&A ever. Whenever I do a poetry reading or whatever, I'm like, no Q&As, because people don't know how to ask good questions. And partially it's just, it's hard to ask good questions, but also like, if you just saw the movie, like even me, I was like, oh, there's kind of some stuff going on with queerness. I would love to talk with the directors about that. But how am I going to ask that? Just say, hey, what do you have to say about queerness in the movie? And these guys were very, like, I think the first person who asked a question asked a kind of, classic, more of a statement than a question meandering one. And the director was just like, so was that a question? and and then just kind of went
Yeah.
off being like, I fucking hate questions. Just watch the movie. I don't want to explain the movie. This shit sucks. But anyway, yeah, I kind of was doing that to I forget what the person was asking about, but like,
Yeah. Okay. Like, to give these guys grace, they were from Australia. They had just gotten here after
yeah.
30 hours of travel, but they were clearly like just so not here for it. And the director in particular was like pretty rude.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like, I kind of get it because, like, even like, you make a movie like this, and like, I'm sure so many of the questions that you get are just like, so why is it weird or experimental? And like, even I think someone asked something about that. And either the director or the main actor was like, I don't think of it as that experimental, which is funny to say for the kind of movie that it is, but it's also like, I do get that. I think it's always annoying to have people hone in on just one thing about a piece of art that you've made and just be like, oh, it's weird, and be like, well, no, it's not just weird to be weird, it's doing things. But it was very funny for like, it was definitely the, we kind of hate all of you, like, Q&A.
Yeah. The star was a lovely guy. I have to like he was doing his best. They were both doing their best probably.
Definitely. But yeah, if you want a truly weird, uh uh experimental, as it were, movie from North Queensland where someone's torn apart by crocodile every 3 months, I recommend it, genuinely, wholeheartedly.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, and I think the way they were talking about it, they were like really pleased with the reception it was getting, and I wouldn't be surprised if this gets some sort of limited
I
distribution.
think they did say it had been picked up. They said it had been picked up by,
Right.
I forget who, but they said it had been picked up.
Yeah,
So
so keep
keep
an
an
eye
eye
out.
out. Tell me about the shorts that you saw.
Yeah, okay, Anime Bento. Uh all around, this was just like a fantastic couple hours. I'm gonna call out two in particular that I think were the strongest. Okay, no, I'm gonna shout out all of them really quick. Um, the ones that I will spend less time on. There's one about an explorer in a post-apocalypse world who is following like these daily broadcast radio signals that are like riddles. And she finally finds the source and realizes that it is like an alien spaceship that landed on Earth, but that the aliens have died and that these are now just being played automatically.
Mm.
These are the only two humanoid creatures we see, like the woman and the dead alien. So it's like a
Mm-hmm.
very sad and lonely. I have here that it is the first Outer Wilds type movie, and I don't totally remember why that is.
It's really funny.
Another one is called Mamiko's Poop, and it is about, oh my god, okay, like not my cup of tea, but for what it is, great. It is a girl that gets embarrassed in front of her crush, and then she eats
Oh,
a bunch of food to cope, and then her poop goes and kills the guy or something. It turns
okay.
into a big monster.
Work, I guess.
It didn't overstay its welcome, and it was very funny, but also pretty gross.
I guess also before you continue, I'll say like this was the one that it's an anime block, and were they all student? Was it like for all from the same? Like you told me it was like student films. Was it from the same animation school, or like how did that work?
No, not necessarily. I think it was like, I think they were all from different schools, all from within Japan, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's about it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
please continue.
Yeah. Um there was one about like a former washed up superhero who his life sucks and he starts to like make money off of just like licensing his image, and his girlfriend left him, and I didn't really get that one. It was called Redman. It was kind of whatever.
Sure.
Um and actually most of these felt like they were TV pilots. which I could hardly blame people for doing. You know, like
Yeah,
you're doing
totally.
your big student thesis film and it's going to be 20 minutes long. It makes sense to make something that could get picked up.
Yeah.
There's another one that is what if TV existed in medieval times?
Fuck yeah.
It was just really cute. It was like about newscasters, but like, oh no, the camera got attacked by a dragon. I think it was called D and Television. We Are TV.
That is a great student film anime name. D&TV, We Are TV.
Yeah. Okay, but here's the big two. One of them is called Beyond the Trail. This is about it's like sort of wintry tundra wasteland where these girls are sort of on the lookout for these ferocious beasts. They drive these like big, powerful sleds, and then they shoot at the beasts. There's a lot of lore here, but essentially it is revealed that like these beasts are humans that die in the wasteland that were genetically modified to be war guys, like soldiers. That's the word.
War guys.
So when any of these soldiers die, they turn into the beasts that the other soldiers must fight. And it's sort of about how this place's military has failed its soldiers, but the real star of the show here is these like enormous and ferocious beasts. If you like Gundam, which I know you do,
Yeah.
I really have to recommend it. It is mostly just about these like very sweet and sad relationships between these soldiers who I think are child soldiers. But my favorite, my absolute favorite, and my number one thing that I saw at the festival was a short film called Loca. It is about a couple like drifter sort of like 10-year-olds around rural Japan. We don't see any other humans. I'm not sure if other humans still exist. I would call it like a cozy post-apocalypse, not quite dystopian because they seem to be doing fine. They just like, they board a train, they find a dog. But the real star of the show here is the art. This is one of the most gorgeous pieces of animation I have ever seen. The backgrounds are like very painterly. There's a trailer on YouTube, by the way, so I'm going to link it in the show notes.
Yeah. Is it Loca with a C or a K?
LOCA exclamation mark.
Okay.
And then the characters are like drawn in like a modern sort of flat cartoony style, but then the spaces they're in, like the close-up spaces, like the train, are 3D modeled. It's like it has a real, very like multimedia feel in a way that I've not often seen with fully digital animation. It just creates this world that you want to like sink into and see everything about. And it is like undergirded by this really sweet relationship between the two kids who like really, I think they are all that they have and they're really looking out for each other. Yeah, honestly, adored it. Not much to say beyond that, but like I imagine, I don't know, the trailer has like a ton of views. I think this will be available on YouTube, and if it is at any point, like really, really lovely, highly recommend. This is this gritty where I got that like sweet sort of tight-knit community feel in the biggest way, because the wonderful thing is all 5 directors were in attendance from Japan. And they were all so excited to be there. They did a little Q&A at the start through a translator. And one of them brought, this is so crazy, from the best animation school in Japan and probably the world, a DVD with all of that year's student films.
Oh yeah.
Only one copy. And so what we did is he played rock, paper, scissors with the entire theater of like, I'm going to say 600 people.
That fucking rules. Holy shit.
Yeah. And we did rock, paper, scissors with him. And then every time you got it wrong, you had to sit
like
down.
Eliminated. That rules.
So I sat down immediately, unfortunately.
Damn.
But it took like 20 rounds of people. And every time, just fewer and fewer. It was down to 5, then down to 3, then down to 2. And we all just like cheered like crazy when it happened. I don't know, just like a real above and beyond thing. You can tell that this festival is run by people who are just so excited about movies. It's awesome.
Fuck yeah, that rules. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, hell yeah. Was that what you said your favorite of the whole festival? Maybe.
It was. I mean, I just love animation, and it was just like perfectly compact, perfectly like I just cared throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Really, my only beef with most of these movies is that uh, the pacing was uneven, you know? Like
Yeah.
a lot of them sort of felt like they ran too long, or I wasn't sure why I was meant to be invested in a given moment. But this one, there was just like a real momentum despite being a hangout movie. I fucking love animation, man. I wish I knew how to draw.
Yeah. No kidding. That's so cool. I love
The
that. The
movies.
movies.
And I think we got one more, is that right?
Yeah, I got The Devil's Bride.
Sweet. Yeah, tell me about it.
The Devil's Bride, like I said, is 1974 Lithuanian rock opera. It opens, and honestly, I'll put the intro is just like on YouTube, and I'll put that in the show notes as well. Because if you watch nothing else from this movie, definitely watch the first scene. That's like
Mhm.
on this beautiful Lithuanian mountaintop, God and all his heaven singing in chorus, and God rings his bell, and everyone has to come and sing their little angelic chorus. But then, one
Oh
by
my
one,
God.
as God looks away, the angels all start singing and dancing and fucking to rock and roll.
Oh my
And then getting
God.
cast out of heaven as devils, which is really, really, really fun.
Fucking cool.
So that happens. The devil, whose name, according to the Wikipedia, is Pinchukas. Um,
Sure, Pinchukas.
it definitely was kind of confusing to watch, partially because, like I said, it's a bit on shuffle and it's definitely doing a lot of the. It's kind of doing like the folktale thing where it'll just cut. Like, okay, so he gets thrown out of heaven, and then he's in the lake, and then he lands in a lake, and there's this great scene of like all these angels being thrown out of heaven and landing in the lake, and then like toilets and carriages also just landing with them in the lake in a way that is just like, yeah, fuck it, throw a toilet in the water.
Threw a toilet in there. Oh my God.
Really, really fun. And then this local peasant townsman who owns the mill near this lake, whose name is Baltaragis, is kind of goes out on his boat and is like, oh, I caught the devil. I put my rope around his neck and now he'll be my servant. And then in the next scene, he's just like, the devil's just in the mill and his like said isn't his servant and is just like, I'm in his mill and I'm going to cause problems. And it's just like, it doesn't explain how we got from one to the other, but kind of in that folktale way, you know, of just like, anyway, next this was happening and he was over there, and it's just like it doesn't have that connective tissue because it doesn't really need it.
Sure.
It also definitely is like made for an audience that knows all these Lithuanian folk tales, because there's like, you know, like the mill owner has this like who's actually his sister who's with him, but I thought was his wife, is kind of like a nagging sister who's like, oh, I don't want you to run
Okay.
off and marry this other young beautiful woman. And I thought that's because she was his wife, but no, it's just his sister. And like, it definitely, in the same way that like if you were watching Jesus Christ Superstar and didn't know who Jesus was or any of the disciples, I think it takes a lot of shortcuts that you'd be like, wait, who's this Herod guy? He's passing judgment on him. Why is that happening? And but if you know about Jesus, you're like, oh yeah. So honestly, if you see this ever, just read the plot synopsis on Wikipedia, like, because reading it after, I was like, oh, it's his sister. I get it now, because it's definitely, you're supposed to watch it and be like, oh my god, it's the sister. Jurga. No, Jurga's the daughter. But you know, you're supposed to be a Lithuanian person watching this and be like, "Oh my god, Jurga. That's so classic Jurga." But even with that confusion, it was really, really fun. Um so yeah, this devil is in his mill and he's like, I'll make a devil's contract with you. I'll get you a beautiful wife. That we see this like beautiful wife who's just kind of like stand canoeing like through the lake, just singing her and he's like, oh my god, you know, just make
Mm.
me my devil's deal and you'll marry her, and all I need is for you to give me the daughter that you'll have. And he's like, yeah, she's so hot, I have to marry her. So they get married, but then yeah, his sister is like, I'm not happy about this. And this is why I thought that she was like supposed to be his wife. I thought he was leaving his wife for younger, hotter wife, but she does a like holly and like you know, kind of plant and fruit ritual that curses her to die. So the wife dies after giving birth to a daughter.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and then the daughter, then it's just cut to the future. The daughter's grown up and is played by the same actress as the hot wife.
Oh my god, what?
Yeah, I know, it's really
That's
funny.
so funny.
And honestly, I thought that the wife was also like one of the angel devils that was cast out of heaven, but she was just a hot lady in a white dress in the lake who was singing. So that was unrelated. But she grows up, she's a beautiful woman, and this guy in the village, Gerdvanus, is trying to be her suitor. And meanwhile, the devil is like, I was promised her, I'm gonna come get her, but they keep playing tricks on the devil so that he's not able to take her away. And then the Gerdvanus from the village is coming to try to like romance her, and every time he goes, the devil fills the woods with fog, and he's like throwing like firecrackers to like make smoke so that his horses he can't like drive through the path to the woods, and he's like free. There's like several sequences of like, I'm gonna try to get there, and then the devil finds a different way to comedically foil him.
This sounds fun.
Yeah, there's like a bit where the devil's like, oh, I'm gonna go in and marry the beautiful wife, but then they switch her out for the not so beautiful sister. Oh, a little prank. It's just like a whole bunch of stuff like this. There's like the beautiful daughter is out swimming, and he like he like ropes her in, and it's like, oh my god, and then like there's toilets in the water again, and then she gets away. He
How
like
zany.
I know, he like gets a guy to become rich, but then he sells his soul. And then the devil's like, it's also kind of on shuffle in that it's like from one scene to the next, the devil will be like, I miss being in heaven. It was so nice. And then like sing a little ballad of like, how I wish I was still in heaven. And then like there's no wind up or wind down from one scene to the next. It's just like immediate cut to bam, 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 and now I'm a happy devil. I'm causing problems in the village. Like it's just like
Oh
bam, bam,
God.
bam, bam, bam. There's also a scene where he's in a dress and is like singing about how he's so tormented, which definitely the audience had a little transmisogynist laugh at. But I'm here to say he was slaying.
Good. Good.
Yeah. At the end of the movie, the whole village realizes that he's a devil and tries to kill him by drowning him in the river. But then the daughter, has a like, no, don't kill him. We don't know if he's a devil for real, and maybe all life is sacred. And then they fall in love, and this is why it's called The Devil's Bride, I guess, is because the end of the movie is the beautiful daughter does get married to her suitor Gerdvanus, and they're kind of riding away, and we see the sister Ursula and the devil Pinchukas, who are happily married, and they have all their children that are dressed like him.
Oh wow.
And that's the end
Good
of
for them.
Yeah. So
Oh my god.
honestly, I think if I had to choose my favorite of the festival, I think it's between Fuck Toys, A Grand Mockery, and The Devil's Bride. Devil's Bride, like genuinely endlessly fun. Again, just like also just really, I don't know if it was Technicolor, but it sure looked like it was. Like that is a testament to just how colorful and beautiful
gorgeous.
it is. The 4K restoration is really gorgeous, really really fun if you just want to have a like romp through and it's like also doing a real 70s thing throughout all of this. Like there's a whole sequence of the daughter being like, I want to go to the village and dance to rock and roll, and the like older sister kind of haggish mother character is like, no, think of your godliness. And then she's like, I want to dance to the raunchy guitar. It's, if you want all of this in a like nonstop kind of insane delightful Eastern European rock opera musical, I really really recommend it. It's a really great time.
I really do want that. Oh, okay. I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
I think we should award best in shows, and I think they should be called "Welcome to the Inaugural PALME D'OLL." Maybe that's what it could be called. What an idea.
Doll. Yeah. Okay.
Let's each give one.
Yeah. I think my Palme D'OLL, I think it's probably between Fuck Toys and The Devil's Bride, and I think I am gonna give it to Fuck Toys Oh,
Nice.
here's the thing. The Devil's
Oh.
Bride is also really good. Because Fuck Toys is gay, but The Devil's Bride is like a fun old Soviet musical. I feel like Fuck Toys is the one that will blow up more, which makes me feel like, should I give it to The Devil's Bride? I know this is literally just a thing we made up right now.
No, this is serious, Sadie. I'm hoping that at least like one person will watch the PALME D'OLL recipient,
Fuck
and we
yeah.
can't let them down.
Okay. I really liked Fuck Toys, but I walked out of it thinking I liked it, but not as much as I wanted to. And I had all these things I liked about it, but I was a bit let down by how it didn't quite hit the like trashy camp that I hoped it would. Like, you know, when I said it was like sexy but not horny, big difference.
Yeah, yeah.
And I walked out of The Devil's Bride saying, for what that did, I had a fucking great time. No complaints. So I think I'm giving it to The Devil's Bride.
Yeah,
I think
respect.
The Devil's Bride gets my PALME D'OLL. How about you? Is it the short film?
It might be. I'm on the fence because it is, you know, it is a short film, and it is not like, it is not what I think of when I think of Fantasia Fest. Like, I think it would be either Loca or a Grand Mockery, which is like quintessential Fantasia fare,
Definitely.
and does get like a high endorsement from me. But no, PALME D'OLL goes to Loca. It's a wonderful, nearly perfect, really sweet little short film. And I hope it gets put on, you know, YouTube or something.
All right. I also have a couple honorable mentions, like I said, that are ones that I haven't seen yet, but that I really want to. I really want to see SHERYL LEE, directed by Alberto Siama, which is it's about an 8-year-old girl in Bolivia, an indigenous girl who can do miracles in some capacity, and I know that she is wandering the Bolivian landscape, kind of doing miracles and kind of dealing with. I'm looking at a Letterboxd review that says encounters symbolic figures and landscapes that speak of grief, faith, and resilience. Sure, great. It seems to. I'm seeing a lot of people say it's evokes Jodorowsky, which is interesting to me because he's cunty. So that one's on my list. I didn't get to see it in time, but I'm really intrigued about that one. I also really want to watch The Woman, which...
What is The Woman?
The Woman is by Hwang Wook. It is a Korean movie. And so here's what I know about this one. It says, an exchange of strawberries in a used household appliance turns into a nightmare for Sung Kyung when her partner turns up dead. Now she must follow the trail of a disturbing stranger. And to be honest, at first I was like, oh, this seems like it could be cool. I like women, and it had like no reviews or nothing. I think this is like an international premiere. And now it has a bunch of reviews on Letterboxd, all of which are like 1 star, saying like, this didn't make any sense. The sound design was like really garish, and it was incomprehensible. And to be honest, but here's the thing, that might mean that I don't like it, but there's the part of me that, you know, listen, I live in Inland Empire.
I know the part of you, Sadie.
You know the part of me. When I see a movie with a bunch of 1 and 2 star reviews that just say like it's weird and long and abrasive and doesn't make any sense, I'm like, maybe I'll fucking love it. So watch this space for I guess either my personal Letterboxd or when we talk about them on the podcast that will come out for you guys in like 8 months for what I think of The Woman and SHERYL LEE.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what you think of any of these movies.
Yeah.
I hope they're great and beautiful and wonderful.
All right. Well,
this was so much fun, Sadie. I can't wait to do this again next year.
Absolutely. And if any Fantasia Festival staff are listening, we sure would. All right. Well,
enjoy the movies, everybody. Movie beautiful.
Movie
Love
beautiful.
The movie.
Bye.
Get that popcorn. Bye.
Get that popcorn. Bye.
TSTV is hosted by Sadie Avery Lake and yours truly, Lily Alexander. Our music is by Jamie Page, the show art is by Mya Fernandes-Giles, and this episode was edited by me. If you have any burning questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. Please send us an email at hello@tstv.show, and we may respond in a future episode. Thanks for listening.